First impressions of Twitter Spaces, you absolutely need to know how this works. It's another game-changing adjustment in the social media universe, and if you don't know it, you're going to lose out in business.
Our mission here is to help 1 million people start a business of their own and make sure anyone who's started a business never feels alone doing it.
Now, what is happening with Twitter Spaces? What is it? If you haven't heard of it already, it's basically a voice-activated social media enhancement of Twitter. So instead of just people tweeting out what they're saying, you can jump into a room and hear them. Now, right now, it's quite closed circuit. I'm one of the privileged few that have been given hosting rights. Apparently, not too distant future, there will be the ability for anyone to host, but I am a host right now, one of a few people that can, and this is what I've learned. First of all, I think you can't really mention Twitter Spaces without giving its comparable, perhaps older brother, Clubhouse. Clubhouse, I've been using it intensely for the last 4 or 5 weeks, so I really got to know that platform as well. And Twitter Spaces is somewhat a copy of it.
Hey, you know who lives in this house? A great big phony! That's right, a phony lives here! A big fat phony!
But there are some important differences which I can point out in this video in the hope that you can decide whether to put all your energy into Clubhouse, all your energy into Twitter Spaces, or not put your energy into either of them at all. I would say that both platforms, the similarities first. First up, they're both very driven by voice, which means it has to be you on those platforms. Unlike Instagram, perhaps, where you can make a beautiful graphic and post it, or even have a strategy on platforms like Facebook where it doesn't actually have to be you that posts it and schedules it, both of these platforms require your personal involvement. There is no company on there speaking. Company doesn't actually have a voice, which is pretty interesting when it comes to branding, right? A company doesn't have a real actual person voice. So most of the people on these platforms are representing themselves, which in itself makes it really unique. Just this week alone, I've been speaking to Paris Hilton, Grant Cardone, all of these interesting characters out there directly in a room, which is fascinating. So what is the big difference between Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces? Well, one of the main differences for me is the framework. Twitter is very much a lone wolf model. So you as an individual host, like I am, I can go on there, I can open up a room, and then frankly, I can decide, do I want the whole world to see I'm available for a room, or do I want individual people that I want within my circle to know I'm there and come into my room? So it's much more an open forum that I'm leading. Whereas Clubhouse is more a community exercise. One of the things on Clubhouse is they have titles of rooms much more prominent within the ecosystem. So I can pick a theme, maybe it's marketing, and then I can bring 3 or 4 other marketing people in there with me, and we have a set time to do the room, it gets scheduled, it goes out. It's much more an event format. If you've ever been to any of these big events like Rise or Web Summit, it's actually very similar to that on Clubhouse. You have a fixed time, 1:15 p.m, where Simon Squibb and all these marketing experts will be on there. You can go into that room and listen to them, and then put your hand up and go and ask questions, and that's all cool. Twitter Spaces is going after more the individual. So right now, as we all know, there's a lot of celebrities already on Twitter. They're already verified, and that's one of the reasons I got a host function, because I'm verified on Twitter. But it gives those individuals a chance to, I guess, stand on a soapbox, open up the room and say, hey, I'm talking about this is what I think, and then other people can come into the room. When you come into the room, you have 2 choices. One is you can be a listener, or you can request to speak, which makes you part of the discussion. So you can request from the host whether or not they allow you to then activate your voice and allow you to start talking. It is, in my view, revolutionary. And the reason right now they're only letting a small number of people host, like myself, is because the technology is quite heavy and intense. And if too many people go on the system and start speaking, the servers will pretty much crash. So who is going to win this race? I think right now it's an open field. There is talk that LinkedIn is creating a voice-activated ecosystem, that YouTube, of course, already have one through things like their Live, and they're just tweaking it. There are so many new companies coming up through the ranks, like Audible, that are looking to also compete with this space. Even Spotify have been rumored as creating potentially rooms. So the field is very much wide open. My personal preference right now is Clubhouse, because I feel like there is a whole strong core of people on there that are credible, that are real, that are regularly on there, which makes it, for me, the most powerful one. I also have a personal, quite large following on there already. In fact, I've got a bigger following in the last 4 weeks on Clubhouse than I've spent the last 9 years on Twitter. But I think the voice is going to change the game. And what you definitely don't want to do, if I was giving you one key piece of advice, is go and register your handle on all of these platforms. Make sure you at least understand how they work. Spend 1 day of your life understanding them. Even if you don't go on them and use them, what you definitely don't want to do is not be on them at all. Even if you're an introvert, there are ways for you to be a part of the community on these platforms. Join groups, for example. They call them clubs on Clubhouse, no surprise. And you can be a part of these communities that are discussing introverts and how to be more extrovert. Or, as I mentioned earlier, everything from marketing to branding to how to build a business. It's all there in the clubs. So you definitely want to be a part of those. Now, for the end part of this video, I think what I will do is I'll just break down the differences between Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces so that you can decide which one to put your energies into. So I think with Twitter or Clubhouse, one of the ways you can perhaps think about which one to decide to go and put your effort into is, what is your agenda? Why are you on these social media platforms at all? So for example, with Clubhouse, it's very much about building your following on there. And in particular around, I would call it, specialists as opposed to generalist subjects. So perhaps you are an expert on marketing. And I think if you go on Clubhouse with that skill set and then you enter into rooms that are around marketing, not only can you create your own rooms around that subject, will create following, but you can also join other people's rooms around marketing. That can be very powerful. Now, if your agenda is simply to have a social chat, perhaps a personal connection, which I think through lockdown we all feel the need to have more personal interaction, then I actually think Twitter Spaces wins in this regard. It's less commercial, it's actually much more general, but that also means it's not as exclusive. Twitter Spaces, in my mind, anybody can actually join a room. There's hundreds of millions of people already on the platform, so it's very easy to ping someone in on Twitter into the room, whereas on Clubhouse, it's still very new, but in a way that also makes it a little bit more special in my mind because it's more, I guess, tight-knit. It's more personal. For example, I'm going on stage and talking direct to these celebrities. I am no way a celebrity. I'm a wannabe celebrity and I'm working hard to become a brand, but I am not a brand. This actually leads me to the final thing I want to say maybe around Twitter Spaces versus Clubhouse is that both of them are quite hectic, but Twitter Spaces in particular is very, very hectic. And there seems to be a lot of random people that come into the ecosystem there. So maybe if you want a calmer experience and business focused, go into Clubhouse. If you just want to party, socialize and connect, go on Twitter Spaces. There's a couple of other things I think worth noting that's happening in the ecosystem of social media that I would like to throw out that might be useful to you. First up, you'll find that all of these platforms now are trying to make you go native. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of these platforms want you to live in their platform. They don't want you to go anywhere else. So I would suggest to you that if you're going to pick a platform, be completely obsessed with that one platform before you move into the next one. I'm making this mistake now myself, really. I'm trying to put content out on all platforms, and actually it doesn't work. For example, if you take a TikTok video and you put it into Instagram for one of their reels, that was fine a couple of weeks ago, but already now they don't like it. They see the watermark or any sort of resemblance to TikTok and they don't show it as much. Equally, if you take a reel and try to put it in TikTok, there's no way it will get traction. Again, these platforms are getting better at making sure that you work natively within the ecosystems. And I just want to zoom back out and tell you that one of the things that's really exciting, I think, about Twitter Spaces is that their idea is long-term to expand it beyond just being a place where you can hang out and have conversations. I think they have a whole idea long-term to make it one big ecosystem. So, for example, a trading platform where you can go on, you can perhaps showcase within the voice environment what you're selling. Think like a sales channel on TV that's selling you products. A QVC, which for some of you folks listening might not even know what this is, but a TV channel selling you products. So they're seeing a way perhaps to commercialize where you can go into a room, you can pitch what you're selling, and then people can click a link and buy it. TikTok have just launched a new element themselves around this, which is really fascinating. So you can literally go onto TikTok, promote what you're doing, and then there's a link straight below that allows people to go through to your e-commerce site or to your TikTok platform and buy that product. So you can see how all of these platforms are going that way. So my conclusion is, If you want to use any of these platforms, Twitter Spaces, Clubhouse, Instagram, TikTok, know why you are going on there. If you can understand your goal, and if it's to sell a product, be straight up about it, then pick a platform that's going to be suitable for that. Clubhouse would not be suitable for going in there and just selling your product. Clubhouse is suitable if you want to go in there and promote your brand, what your skills are, and get followings around your skills. It would not be good for going in there and selling product. TikTok, however, they are building out a platform that will allow you to go on there and sell product. So pick your platforms carefully. If you found this video useful about Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse and all this social media basic insight, please do me a favor and hit the like button so I know. If you have any questions about any social media channel or marketing in general, and of course business, feel free to drop me a comment. I always reply to comments, no matter how many there are. I always get back to you guys. So let me know if you have any questions about these subjects. Feel free to hit that alarm bell button and the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any of our content that could help you build a business or grow your existing one. I'm Simon Squibb, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this video.